Hello, hello, hello. Autoimmune Prepper here. Happy Tuesday. Today is March 2nd, 2021. And guess what else? This month of March is Nmo Awareness Day. And I wanted to read some information to you about Nmo and doing my part with helping spread awareness about the rare autoimmune illness. So here we go. Overview. Neuromyelitis optica, NMO, and NMO spectrum disorder, which is NMOSD, excuse me, also known as Devick's disease. So that was the original, or that is the original name for NMO. It is an autoimmune disorder in which white blood cells and antibodies primarily attack the optic nerves, which are your eyes, and your spinal cord, but may also attack the brain. Excuse me, you guys. The damage to the optic nerves produces swelling and inflammation that causes pain and loss of vision in some people. The damage to the spinal cord causes weakness and paralysis in the legs or arms, loss of sensation, and problems with bladder and bowel functions. So if you watched my video where I talked about why I named my channel Autoimmune Prepper, I tell the story of how I had to go to the restroom and, nothing would come out. So that was a bladder issue back then. NMO is a relapsing remitting disease. During a relapse, new damage to the optic nerves and or the spinal cord can lead to accumulating disability. Unlike MS, there is no progressive phase of the disease. Therefore, preventing attacks is critical to a good long-term outcome. The cause of NMO in the majority of cases is due to a specific attack on the aquaporin 4, for short, they call it AQP4, the water channel located within the optic nerves and your spinal cord. The AQPs are proteins that transport water across cell membranes. More than 70% of NMO and NMOSD patients test positive for an antibody biomarker in the blood called NMO IgG, or anti-AQP4 antibody. In people with NMO who test negative for anti-AQP4 antibodies, up to a third may be positive for auto antibodies directed against a component of myelin called MOG, MOG. People with anti-MOG related NMO similarly have episodes of transverse myelitis, which is where you become paralyzed, and optic neuritis, where it affects your eyes. But recovery after attacks appear to be better than anti-AQP4 related diseases. I know that was a lot. So who gets NMO and when? There are an estimated 4,000 people with NMO in the United States and 250,000 people worldwide. Now, obviously, there's a lot more today because this article is a bit old. NMO is more common in women, greater than 80% than men. NMO occurs in all parts of the world and may be the most common of the demyelinating disease in certain populations, such as Africans, Asians, and Native Americans. NMO can occur at any age. in as children as young as 3 and in adults as old as 90, but appears most often between the ages of 40 and 50. Now, for me, when I was diagnosed, I was in my 40s. I won't say 40 what. Now, so they used to get NMO confused with MS or misdiagnose people with MS. So how is NMO different from MS? NMO is considered to be an autoimmune disease where the immune system reacts against healthy tissue as if it was a threat. In the majority of cases of NMO, the immune system recognizes the AQP4 water channel as foreign and develops antibodies. They develop the antibodies to attack the AQP4 on the surface of the astrocytes, which in turn damages the astrocytes. Astrocytes are supportive cells in the brain, spinal cord, and optic nerves, and damage to the astrocytes is believed to lead to demyelation. In cases associated with anti-MOG antibodies, it is considered that anti-MOG antibodies may trigger an attack on the myelin sheath, resulting in the demyelation. Symptoms are generally more severe after an NMO attack than for an MS attack. NMO rarely has a secondary progressive stage as in MS. Disabilities accumulate from repeated attacks. Meaning if you have a relapse, you have another attack, you could wind up being worse off than you were from your original attack. NMO across the world, especially among non-Caucasians, MS has a higher incidence in temperature climates and Caucasians. Fatigue in NMO is usually an indirect result of living with the disease and its symptoms. Secondary fatigue. In MS, fatigue is both primary, caused by the disease process itself, and secondary. NMO usually affects only the optic nerve and the spinal cord at the beginning of the disease, although there may be lesions present in other specific areas of the brain. MS typically affects the brain as well as the spinal cord and the optic nerve. Nmo IgG is not found in people with MS, but is found in 70% of those with NMO. In MS, individual episodes are usually mild. The cumulative effect over time may or may not cause progressive disability, whereas in NMO, the opposite is true, and therefore early diagnosis is very critical. Acute episodes are usually severe, and if untreated, they can have a devastating, irreversible effects on function. Some people with NMO also have other autoimmune diseases such as Sjögren's syndrome or systemic lupus, SLE. So that's the difference between NMO and MS. Now, I also wanted to share this with you again about NMO. What is NMO? NMO stands for neuromyelitis optica, once thought to be a type of multiple sclerosis, MS. Neuromyelitis optica and neuromyelitis optica spectrum disorder are variants of a distinctive but rare autoimmune disease. NMO is an inflammatory disease of the central nervous system characterized mainly by attacks and relapses of swelling and damage in the optic nerves and your spinal cord, which is a form of transverse myelitis. It can cause temporary or permanent blindness and or paralysis. It may have periods of remission and relapse. So what causes NMO? At the present, the specific cause of NMO are unknown. I mean, you could just be healthy one day, skipping along, riding your bike, going hiking, camping, scuba diving, whatever. And many people, stories I've read, they just wake up the next day and paralyzed or blind. However, most experts believe that NMO results from a dysfunction in immune tolerance, which is the immune system's ability to distinguish one's own cells or proteins from potentially foreign material. It is believed that autoreactive T and B cells, autoantibody, complement, and leukocytes play a role in NMO. Now, let's see here. How common is NMO? Let me read this to you really quick. The answer remains difficult to know precisely. However, there is emerging evidence that the number of cases is considerably higher than known to date. This situation may be due to a previous lack of awareness of the disease, limited test methods that did not allow accurate diagnosis, and similarities that NMO shares with other autoimmune and neurologic conditions. Current studies indicate that the incidence, which means the number of new cases, and prevalence, which means the total number of known active cases of NMO, are significantly greater than originally estimated. Importantly, NMO is now becoming more effectively diagnosed thanks to new diagnostic methods, laboratory tests, and special imaging methods. Many of these tools have emerged in just the past several years, so the current estimates of NMO disease almost certainly do not reflect the actual incidence and prevalence of NMO worldwide. Historically, the prevalence of NMO was estimated to be approximately 1 to 4 per 100,000. Today, due to improved awareness and advances in clinical diagnosis research, data estimate that NMO afflicts up to 10 in 100,000 persons. This rate suggests nearly 15,000 NMO patients in the U.S. alone and hundreds of thousands of patients worldwide. Interestingly, the prevalence of NMO appears to vary in different regions and among distinct populations around the world. Because such population effects may result from heritable and environmental factors, this observation may provide new insight into the genetic contributions to NMO. NMO is more common in women than men, with the ratio of up to 7 to 1. NMO appears to be more common among individuals having genetic ancestry, including African, Asian, Pacific Island, Polynesian, or Caribbean descent. However, all peoples can be affected by NMO and NMOSD. So then they go on to talk about relapses. But I want to go over what are NMO symptoms. NMO symptoms can vary from person to person and may resemble MS symptoms in many ways. Most in common Nmo is most commonly characterized by inflammation of the spinal and or optic nerves, causing any or more of the following symptoms: rapid onset of eye pain or loss of vision, which is the optic neuritis, limb weakness, numbness, or paralysis, which falls under transverse myelitis, shooting pain, tingling in the neck, back, or abdomen, loss of bowel or bladder control, prolonged nausea, vomiting, or hiccups. Sometimes these symptoms are temporary and resolve on their own. In any case, it is important to discuss these symptoms with your doctor to help consider Nmo in your diagnosis. So how's Nmo diagnosed? Well, you eventually wind up at the hospital. They run tests. I had a lumbar puncture, ouch, which is very painful. I had an MRI, and between the two, that information went off to the Mayo Clinic, and it returned back with, oh, it looks like you have Devick's disease. And I definitely was thrown for a loop. I'm like, Devick's disease? What in the world is that? Never heard of it. I had heard of MS, but of course, I really didn't know what it was. I just heard the name MS, but I didn't know what it was. Okay, so did you know autoimmune diseases now affect approximately 8% of the U.S. population, and that's nearly 30 million patients, and 10% of the global population, nearly 600 million patients. Autoimmune diseases have been projected by the World Health Organization to become a leading cause of illness and death worldwide by 2030. Already, some autoimmune diseases have incidence rates equivalent to or surpassing those of heart disease and cancer. An autoimmune disease, you guys. Around 75% of autoimmune diseases target women, and these illnesses are among the top 10 leading causes of death in women less than 65 years of age. Tragically, autoimmune diseases exploit the very immune system that enables a mother to carry a child, striking at the prime of life when women often make their greatest contributions to family, career, and society. Not only do patients confront the ongoing trauma of unpredictable symptoms, but families and caregivers also bear the difficult burdens of autoimmune diseases, as do employees, employers, and communities. That's so true. But it's just unfortunate that happens. Now, for Nmo, is there a cure? Presently, there is no cure. There is only, many people get infusions. For instance, I get an infusion every 6 months, and that is to help to deplete the B cells, which are the ones that wreak havoc and can cause relapses. So there's no cure, but there is a treatment. Is Nmo hereditary? No, it's not. It is not hereditary. So anyway, that is what I wanted to share with you about Nmo on this wonderful Tuesday, the month of March, Nmo Awareness Month. Now, granted, not all states are on board with making Nmo, making March Nmo Awareness Month. California is one of them. So I guess I'll have to be about the business of, there's a letter that is drafted from one of the foundations that I can send off to the state again to request that they acknowledge Nmo Awareness Month in the month of March. One of the foundations I was looking at, as of April 6th of 2020, 35 of the 50 states have declared March 2020 as Nmo Awareness Month. So that's great. Kudos to those states who deems it important to have an awareness month for Nmo. So with that being said, I want to ask you for your support in helping spread awareness about Nmo by giving the video a thumbs up. Everybody that watches this video, give it a thumbs up and share. Share the video. There may be somebody out there with an autoimmune illness that's looking for a good channel to follow, looking for some information. And especially as preppers, they when they come to my channel, they can get information about prepping and whatever other good information that I provide here. So I appreciate the support. Thank you in advance for all the subscribers that I do have. Nmo, excuse me, is not a death sentence. It was a journey. It is a roller coaster ride, but it's doable. And you just have to have faith, be strong, and you'll get through it. But anyway, thank you again for watching. If you are not already a subscriber, please subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you are notified every time I put out a new video. I try to do a couple a day. Obviously, sometimes I have to take a break, so I may miss a day on putting out a video, but just know that I will be back. Anyway, don't forget to wake up and start every day with an attitude of gratitude. And thank you for helping me spread awareness about Nmo. You see my nice sign back here in the back. But I'll see you in the next video. Bye.